Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm thrilled to come to you live and direct for our first BookBaby live chat. This has been a labor of love we've been thinking about for a number of months now. Social media is great for communicating all different ways, and here's one more. I've been sort of a late adopter and dragging, kicking and screaming into some aspects, but I really see the merit in, communicating to you about self-publishing and all the issues therein. I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing in these formats first, but I wanted to let you know you can type questions in the comments area. Tell me who you are, where you're from, and type your questions. And at the end of this, we're going to be going through there. We'll also have a special offer for you that you're going to be easy to enter and win. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. So if my intrepid producer will now switch to our presentation, we'll get going. Okay, all righty. So today we're going to talk about the 4 cornerstones of self-publishing success as I see it, all right? So a little bit about this, our first ever Facebook and, by the way, YouTube live chats. That's a little old already. But who I am, I used to be a pear farmer from Oregon. I used to be a journalist, although I think I still have to put that in there. I'm not sure if we've gone past that just yet. I've worked for companies like Mattel and Hasbro and other leading companies, but most importantly for this chat, I am a self-published author myself, and I know the trials and travails and the triumphs and the glory of having your book out there. So these are the kinds of things that I want to talk about in these occasional chats, all right? So here's how I see these going. 30 fun-filled minutes. Let's say I'm going to talk 15 minutes on a topic, and we'll publish the topic in advance of what we're going to do. It's going to be focused on self-publishing. There'll be a lot of book marketing about it because I've heard that's what authors really want to hear about. But this is not a BookBaby commercial. Yeah, I'm going to mention it. Yeah, you see the logo down below this. But really, this is not the place or time for that. We have other opportunities to tell you about our company. I will mention BookBaby, of course, so be prepared for that. Then finally, at the end of it, we'll have probably 15 minutes or so for your questions. So please don't hesitate to fill up the comment screens with your questions about it. It could be about self-publishing. It could be about BookBaby. It could be about me being a pear farmer. I don't know. It's up to you, okay? So here's our giveaway. So one lucky attendee at every event, will be selected at random to receive a 15-minute publishing consultation with me. Now, I will tell you, these conversations usually don't go 15 minutes. They're much longer. And because I want to really, spread the gospel of self-publishing because I truly do believe in it. So here's what you have to do. All you have to do to sign up is share this live video post and tag a friend in the comments. And it's as simple as that. And at the end of our presentation, I'll have a name and we'll set something up with you to have that conversation. All right. So here we go. Without further ado. Okay. So we really do call self-publishing a journey. It's a climb in some, there's some easy parts, there's some hard parts, but it truly is a journey. And there are a lot of questions surrounding this. Should I try to be a traditional publishing? Should I shoot for that with an agent? Or should I go self-publishing? I'm not going to talk about that today because that could be a 3-hour chat. Another key issue is, does self-publishing have to be a DIY type of thing? Do I have to do it all myself? There are people who do that, but are there other options for you? We'll talk a little bit about that too. My point today is that there is so much information about self-publishing on the internet, in books, in blogs and things like that. Sometimes I think it's too much. So for folks who are really starting out in the journey, or if they've already done a book and they're thinking about, I can do it better next time, this is what I have to offer you today, to really talk about the foundation. And I kind of liken it to a house. A house has got to have a strong foundation. And I think there are really 4 important cornerstones for a successful publish, for you to get that book out there and have it done successfully to your satisfaction. So let's start here, all right? First off, you need a team. Now, again, I mentioned before that DIY is certainly an option, very viable. And many people do it themselves, and they write their book, and they do their editing themselves, they self-edit, and they put it up on the platforms. And that's great. But you know what? It doesn't have to be that way. In fact, we've kind of coined a term of, there's DIY, and then there's DI for you. There's people doing it for you to help you through there. It does take a community to really do a successful self-publishing launch, in my experience. And And you can actually make it a lot like traditional publishing, because with traditional publishing, you have your editor here and your designer here and your people helping you. You can find that out there either through paying for services or just enlisting the help of other experts out there. You do need to look for experts who've done a lot of publishing if you want to trust them, because this is an important project to you, and we understand that. So choose carefully who you want to help. Make sure they have experience. And it's also nice that you want to find somebody, an entity, or friends or people who will be with you all the way. That really can hold your hand at the beginning of that journey and all the way until you're collecting money from Amazon or iBooks or wherever you are selling your books. All right. So that's number one. Get the team. Find a team. Okay. Number two is, and that's maybe this should have been number one, because you really do need a great product. And when I talk about product, I'm talking about your book, of course. I'm talking about your manuscript. And for you to feel good about presenting your best, well, you need some things to go around it. Editing is a must. And I know we're going to have a session or two about editing. If people follow me on our blog or my weekend emails, I harp on that. It's not something that you can avoid if you want to do a book. The number of great, number one best-selling titles who have not been edited is 0. I mean, they've all had a good hard edit. So you need to consider that as just a must. All right. Design is important too. You not only have to have your book be interesting and compelling, it's got to look that way too. You've got a lot of competition out there, and never have so few seconds looking at so few pixels on an Amazon page. It is so important. So having a designer who can work your cover and possibly format your book, very important. The third thing is this, and I know we're going to have a definite session about this: print on demand. It's a game changer for self-publishing. Print on demand with digital printing, allows your first book being printed it'll be exactly like the 1,000th book printed, or the 100th, or the 500th, or whatever. It allows us, we as printers, to print one book and do it at a very economical price. You don't need to have 500 books in your mother's basement and dole them out one by one. No, you find a company that has print on demand, because that's really going to be important for your cash flow, but also for your availability. And then finally, I stress people should do ebooks too. Now, they had their, they were introduced about 10, 12 years ago, and they had their heyday, and people thought by now that's all we would be reading. Well, that's not the case. They've settled into about 35% of the market, book marketing. But during the pandemic, ebooks really took off again, and they're especially popular outside of the US. If you're looking for global distribution, many third world countries, that's really what they look for. So always think about an ebook. All right. Now that's my subtle reminder from my marketing folks to remind you that you can sign up for our newsletter to be notified about our next Facebook Live chat. It's going to be on March 19th. Don't know what the topic is going to be just yet, but I'm sure it'll be just compelling. So the link is on this post as well as on our website. And then a reminder again, if you want to have the chance to win the publishing consultation giveaway that I'll be thrilled to do, you need to share this live video post and then tag a friend in the comments. And we will hopefully be choosing a winner at the end of the broadcast. So here we go. All right. Number 3, you need access to the marketplace. It's great to you have a beautiful book. You have a team, but unless you put eyeballs on it, and mostly online, it's not going to be successful. So, of course, people have to be on Amazon. They do anywhere between 65 to 80% of the books, as known in the publishing marketplace. You can do it yourself. You can have other people help you. It's just vital that you get on Amazon. My personal preference, though, is my next point, which is going beyond the jungle. Going beyond the Amazon jungle. Why just put it there in Amazon when Kobo is surging in the marketplace? I was just looking at one of our clients' ebook sales, and she sells a ton of books on Kobo, on Scribd, on iBooks. If you have the opportunity, make sure you're not just on one platform, because people want to read where they want to read. People shop at different places. Why not just allow yourself the opportunity? The third point about this is that just sort of a trivial point here. We're actually part of a 75-year-old music company. We've been dealing with independent musicians for many, many years, selling them products and services. And so brought a lot of lessons over from the music side into publishing. And one of them is the notion of selling directly to your readers. Now, for musicians, they can sell directly at gigs. I don't know many authors who are going to have reading gigs, unfortunately. But for us authors, that means selling through your own websites or finding opportunities to, again, get your product directly into the hands of your readers. Not only will you have a relationship with your readers and they know you, too, you're going to make a lot more money during those opportunities. So think about that from the very outset. All right. Fourth thing is this. It's important for you. This is a really important project. You've spent months, maybe even years to work on your books. So you need to make sure that you trust everyone that you're working with. You should interview any prospective company or team that is going to work with you. You need to look at every fine print on a contract or agreement to make sure that you're going to retain your rights. I think that's a very important thing. We've heard really kind of some sad stories about people who who didn't realize that as they were submitting their manuscript to another entity, they were losing their rights to it. We don't believe in that. This is something that a self-published author really needs to be aware of and retain it. And it's one of the main reasons a lot of people do self-publish. Read reviews, or Google. We think Trustpilot is the best. I mean, we have a lot of reviews on Trustpilot. Other companies do the same. Take a look at those, read those carefully. And then when you do kind of narrow it down to people, if you want to work with a commercial entity, which is great, ask them to spell out exactly what they guarantee. No, nobody can guarantee your book is going to sell, and no one should even pretend to say that. But they should guarantee their products and their services so that you walk out with a great book that you're proud of, that you can share with your family and friends and feel really good about. All right. So just to recap, this foundation, which I think is really important, and if everybody uses this, they've got a great start in their self-publishing journey. Pick the people you can depend on. Interview them, vet them carefully. All right. Choose the products and services that can turn your story into just a gorgeous book. All right. Whether it's a picture book for the coffee table or a novel that you've written, really take the time, take the effort, make the investment to make it and read and look as beautiful as you possibly can. Third thing is think about how you want to get it out to your readers. Distribution is important here. That's how it gets out, in front of millions of readers if you choose wisely and really do your research on that and as to who can help you in that way. And the fourth thing is this, you're putting so much of your time, your sweat, you need to be able to trust people that you're working with. It's a comfort to know that, these people are taking care of me. They're really doing a good job. I don't have to worry about my royalties being stolen. Do your homework, make sure, get references, make sure that you are working with folks who you can trust. All right. So those are the four basic foundations to this. All right. On this, I'm going to try to read a note that we have gotten from some of our customers, just to give you a little bit, again, not a commercial, but just as something. So Michelle wrote, she's a first-time author. For anyone who knows anything about self-publishing, there's a lot of work that goes into the process from start to finish. I was extremely nervous and certain that I would miss some of the important steps involved in the process. But BookBaby services were super efficient and easy to understand. I appreciate how knowledgeable the agents were. Their communication was definitely on point. I appreciate how time-oriented and precise their services were from the website to the actual production of my first baby. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you, Michelle, for that. All right, and finally, this is the slide that triggers us going into questions, but I would appreciate your comments about that. If a dog wore pants, would he wear them like that or like that? It's been plaguing me. All right, with that, trusty producer, I guess we'll go back and we'll start looking at questions. All right, so Alan Cook, thank you very much for your question. He asks, I have a new book out. Should I focus on Amazon pre-sales first or Bookshop? Well, Amazon pre-sale is something that, is an important topic. In fact, I'm updating our blog article on that very topic. The days in a pre-sale and most folks may not be aware of this. Let me back up a bit. So a pre-sale period is you put your book up on a website, and then you give Amazon adequate time to line up everything to make sure that it's in their warehouse. This can vary between 45 to 60 days. With the pandemic, it was lengthened out, and I believe we're still at 60 days, but I need to verify that. So during that 60 days, you focus on getting people to that sales page, getting them there, looking at that, of course, hopefully to buy it, so that on your first day you have a nice bit of sales. So I would say, if it's Amazon pre-sales first or Bookshop, your book will be available. All right, but to focus on getting your folks up to Amazon will help the algorithms to Amazon, and I would think that that's a good place. But don't skimp on working your own Bookshop page. Bookshop, by the way, is our page that we allow our authors to sell directly from. Work that, add the reviews that you get, add great graphics, add to your bio there. So it's worth the work on both places. But you know what? Right now, through pre-sale, focus on the Amazon thing. All right, second thing. Robert asked if we offer market analysis. Well, not per se. I would say, if you sent me an email, by the way, I'm going to share my email address here later. If you have a specific question saying, what do you think about children's book? Or what do you think about business books about this? I'll give you an opinion. But we BookBaby and we really aren't in the market analysis, but we can, share a lot of our experiences and our opinions about, what we know about the industry. All right. Okay, next one. Amy asks if a children's picture book should have an ebook release. That's a really good question. So, by the way, we work with a ton of children's authors. I would say, my gosh, many of our phone calls today probably came from folks who had ideas for children's books. So we do a lot of those. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to back out and to say it depends. It really depends on what you want. Most of our children's book authors do not do an ebook because it's a little expensive to do it in what they call a fixed layout. And I'm not going to get in the weeds about that, but it literally makes it so that when someone is looking at an ebook reader, that the page is going to look exactly as it would on a printed book. You can do that, and there's a process for that. And we offer that for iBooks only, sold through Apple. It is more expensive. We're looking into ways to do this for Amazon as soon as the platform is kind of stabilized and it can be done on all the readers. Right now, I would focus on your printed book. I would focus on finding the right format. Is it going to be hardcover? Is it going to be soft cover? Where do you want to distribute it? Who is going to be doing the actual illustrations? I'd focus first on your printed books. Depending, there are some children's books that will work very well with an ebook, but right now I'd say focus in on the printed product for your best opportunities. Okay, next. Robert asks if we provide checklists for the process to help. Well, we have a lot of checklists. In fact, one of the checklists, and I got another email to me earlier about this. I'm going to interpret that and mean perhaps a timeline, a publishing timeline, because I got a question about how long does it take to self-publish a book? Now that it could be as short as weeks, and it could be as long as months, and there are a lot of variables in there. If you go to our BookBaby blog and you find this little search icon and you type in timeline, you'll actually get a really good guide for, it's a checklist of all the things that you should be doing and kind of a guide as to how long they typically take. Now, again, no two books are going to be the same. They are like snowflakes because one person wants to look at their book proofs and get back to us in 5 minutes, and another person wants to take 5 days or 5 weeks. So a lot is dependent upon the actions of the author in how they do that. But in terms of checklists, we have all kinds of material on our blog in, both during the production, during the launch of the book, and then after the launch of the book. And I'm devoting a lot of time in my latest blog articles to really help authors find their readers. It's sort of my theme for 2021. So hopefully there'll be some checklists and things like that for that. Okay. Next one. How to maintain momentum in sales. That's a great question. People think so much about their book launch as a singular event. All right. Let's just say instead of a book, it's a boat. And ta-da, you pound the champagne on the hull and it's out there in the ocean. does that mean the boat isn't going to go anywhere after the launch? Are you only going to be interested in it for a few days or weeks? No, books are the same way. Yes, you should have a book launch and you should surround it. And the people who are your immediate fans or in your on your contact list and on your email list, yes, that's when you should spend a lot of time doing that. And that can take anywhere from 60 to 90 days. So what do you do after that? Well, hopefully you've written a second book or a third book, because one way is to, combine some book giveaways and things like that. But this is a sort of a carousel, if you will. All right. Your book is on a carousel and it's looking out at a segment of the population every single day. And there are new people who are coming looking for books on Amazon. If you've done your metadata well, metadata is the information about your book that's on websites. If you do that well, they're going to find your book. So really keeping it fresh is more about just making you aware of, can I improve upon this? Maybe I need to do some Facebook ads for this. Your book isn't stale after a year. Depending on the books as well, they might be good for 4 or 5 years. Again, I just saw one of our leading ebook authors, and she's selling books that she had on there for 6-7 years ago, and she's still selling hundreds of them. So really, the momentum can be kept up if you have the mindset that, again, the launch isn't end all be all. You're going to cruise with that book for a good long time. Okay, all right. William Dan asked where folks can leave a review like Michelle's for us. That would be Trustpilot. All right. Trustpilot is a really good way, I think, to kind of verify and vet companies out there. If you have done work with us, I believe we even send you links and invite you to do that. I think that's the best place for it. All right, boy, next. Thank you for all your questions, by the way. Can I talk about ISBNs and if one should purchase their own? So ISBNs are important. One thing to note that you can be on Amazon and not have to have an ISBN. They have their own numbering system. I would strongly recommend, though, you do get you do have an ISBN. Now we sell people ISBNs. I think they're $39, $49, something like that. That's what I'm stumped on today. I'll get that information to you later. And that's what we recommend to folks. You need a different ISBN for an ebook and a printed book. So you have to have 2 ISBNs. You can go direct to the Bowker agency and buy 1 or 2, or I think the minimum is 10 actually, and you can buy large blocks. But I would strongly recommend that you do get one. If you want to go outside of Amazon with your distribution, you have to have one. So it really is important for you to have an ISBN, whether you get it from us or you go directly to Bowker. And there are other ways you can get them too, but you can research that on your own. Okay. William asked to describe our marketing support, like metadata optimization, LinkedIn ads. Okay. So, and I've been writing a lot recently about marketing, and some folks who unfortunately have the conception that just putting it on Amazon is marketing, and it's not. Of course, you're making it available for people to find your book. That's great, but you've got to lead them to that. How I feel that our services like metadata optimization, and I'll talk about that in a bit, and our Facebook ads is, we're here to try to find readers. Okay, we're here to try to attract readers. It's the content of your book first and foremost. It's the what you write about your book is turning readers into buyers, right? That's your half of the equation. So what metadata optimization does is we don't write it ourselves. We edit what you're given an opportunity to write your own metadata, see what you think. But you enlist our service, and we'll go in, we'll check your keywords. You have so many keywords you can put on Amazon. So people type in those kinds of words which are most like your book, they'll come to you. They'll do grammar and spelling and editing and things like that. But really, it's pound for pound. It's probably one of the best services we actually have. It's just $99. And it really has been the difference between people making their books a bestseller. We had one very famous client. I won't tell the story, but he actually he put in his metadata. He thought it was a children's book. Well, actually, turns out it was a parenting book. And once he changed that metadata and did some other things, he did end up being a New York Times best-selling author through BookBaby. Just a minor little detail like that can make a huge difference in it. So metadata is very important. Second thing, though, is about our LinkedIn ads, which we're just introducing, I think, in a couple of weeks. We've been doing Facebook and Instagram ads. These have been very, very successful for our authors. We do some work. It's a campaign. And again, in social media, I said at the outset, it's a great way to communicate and to find folks. You're able to really parse out audiences of people who that you together with us, we consult with you, who might be interested in your book. And we go through the thousands, endless types of audiences that are in both in Facebook and Instagram, and we target your ad to that. And we allow you to link to your Bookshop page or your Amazon page, and they've been very successful. The investment again is something that you need to think about. Just spending $100 a week for a week or so is really not going to find the results, because as your ad runs, Amazon or Instagram and Facebook, they learn a little bit more about what's successful. They want you to do well too, so they're going to kind of push your ad to the audiences that work. So we do recommend a 4 to 6 week long campaign where you're getting exposure out there and finding the readers that you convert to buyers with your great book, your great cover, and your metadata. Okay, next. Have we worked with librarything.com? We have not. However, we do work with a company called Overdrive. They have been the traditional leader in sales to libraries, not just in the US, but around the world. And especially during the pandemic, they did a lot of work to make ebooks a very big thing in their offering. I mean, we think it's very important that people get into libraries. Matter of fact, I'm going to be interviewing a guy in a couple of weeks who did just that, and his methods for getting in his local libraries, which was then upward in his region and in his entire state, in addition to Overdrive. So there are some ways for you to get into libraries, and it's been a really rewarding thing for folks. All right, so one more question. And Duquette, I believe, asks how important it is to have an author website and recommendations. It's funny. I had another question, just that very same thing before we started. How important is an author to have a website? Your Facebook page is not your website. Your Twitter, face page, or your main Twitter page, that's not your website. It is really important to have author websites. Once again, I would send you over to the BookBaby blog, because I've done a couple of posts on this about some really good author blogs, author websites, what they need to have on them. And I give you examples of ones who have, done very well with them, and set yourself up as a brand. You do have to think of your book as a product. And I know that can be an emotional thing. Yes, it is your baby. And we know about BookBaby. It is a very special thing, but to think about it as a marketer, as an author marketer, if you will, you need to think about it as a product and how can you best market that. And a website is a really important part of it. All right. And I think we're about ready to wrap it up, but I do have an opportunity to say we have a winner, and it is Enriqueta Harriet Brown, who I will be doing a 15-minute or more consultation call. So I'm looking forward to that. And just one more thing, if you do have any more questions, if I can, if we could advance if we can go back to the presentation for a bit, Carter. 1 second. If you have any more questions, please shoot me an email. After I do a Saturday email each week, and I get a lot of emails right after that, and I'm happy to answer your questions. I might not get back to you that weekend, but a few days afterwards, I try to get back to everybody. So anyway, with that, I want to thank you so much for your patience, and congratulations, Enriqueta. I'll be talking to you soon. So thank you, and we'll see you in a few weeks.